Hello and welcome back to the Facts of Facts, the only Facts of Life podcast that's been operating on one brainwave conductor this whole time.
Just the one.
Just the one. Between the two of us, it's yours. No offense that you saying that you only have one. Now that I realize I say it out loud, and it seems more insulting than I meant.
It's very insulting, to be perfectly honest.
I was really trying to be self-effacing, but then I one-upped myself by saying, and it's yours, and then all of a sudden that said that you only have. Anyway, I love you. You're very smart. How are you doing?
I'm okay. A bit perplexed by this episode.
Okay. Perplexed is a place to start. I'm very eager. I'm sure you all have, if you follow the podcast, know this is one of my favorites, and I have been looking forward to Britt seeing it, and I have not communicated with her other than, I think, what did we do? We made fun of something on text, but I did not get
her hat.
Oh, her hat. Yes, her hat. Well, I love that hat so much. But we did not get into what you thought of this episode.
So this is why this is perplexing to me. Because you said that this is one of your favorite episodes.
Yes.
Facts of Life. What was this? Was this a bottle episode?
Yeah.
What did this accomplish in your mind?
The bonding between these girls. I teared up 3 times in this episode watching it, and my body we're currently not a wonderland. I am run down from doing too much at once, and also, full disclosure, lovelies, I don't know if you can see it, but your boy's vaccinated, so I'm feeling really good about that. And it's open to everybody in LA, so I hope that all the lovely, or California, and I think the world, US, lovelies, get vaccinated if you can. That's what I'm trying to say. And I know Britt's very anti-vax. That's kind of her stance.
That's my thing. Is that I hate science. Much like apparently everyone in this episode who can't keep any scientific facts in their brain at all.
Thank you for redirecting us back to the show. I really felt like this was an episode that did nothing except for grow their friendship. And it was like the mystery of what's about to happen, because they're all kind of about to go their own separate ways. Now, you and I know that they've got a lot of croissants in their future and 5 more seasons, and they'll be fine. But this really did feel to me, when I was a kid, it felt like when I graduated elementary school, I felt so emotional because I felt like I was going to be losing so many people that I was friendly with and teachers that I knew and things like that. And I would say that, this episode reminded me of that feeling, and then I got that feeling in junior high, and then at college I was like, get me the fuck out of here, I hate everybody. So that's just how life goes. But I felt like this was I felt like they knew they were doing something special and unique, but at the same time, I also think there's an element of necessity, because I don't know when exactly this one was filmed, but I haven't seen Graduation in a bit, but I have to assume that this was filmed later on in the season as probably the last thing they did, when they had already gotten rid of the cafeteria set.
Yeah.
Or at least we're using the cafeteria set to build up the big giant hour-long Graduation episode that I know that you cannot wait for.
Yeah. So this episode is a bottle episode that where it takes place in the girls' bedroom.
12 hours in the girls' bedroom, 8 to 8.
And it certainly felt like 12 hours to me, even though it was a brisk, I don't know, 24. To be perfectly honest, I understand the fact that, because the big emotional payoff here is Joe and Blair confiding in one another that they're afraid to go to college because of their own concerns. That they've only known this place, and that Joe is struggling with the notion that she's the first in her family and the first on the block to go to college, and that
We've never heard that from Joe before.
No, ever, ever. And so the big emotional payoff is these two young women bonding at 5 a.m. But to get to that, we have to lock these four girls in this room for 25 minutes. And for 22 minutes of that, they're shrieking at one another. They're screaming. They're screaming the whole time. And they're saying, purportedly, this is so that they're locked into this room from 8 to 8 so that they can cram for their finals. And is any studying being done? No, there's no studying. It's sort of like the harvest dance. It's sort of like any football game, the soccer game. Do we ever see them study? No. All they do is obsess about eating things. I thought this episode was basically a race to see who can have the most impacted colon by the end.
Okay.
They did no studying. All they did was eat. They ate so much food. And again, this isn't like a fat shaming thing. It's just like a props thing. Like it was like it was as though Mrs. Garrett kept coming in with like these mountains of food, and Natalie has a giant bag of food, of banana cake and moo juice and 50 sleeves of Oreos, and then at midnight, 11 p.m. they start freaking the fuck out about how they don't have enough food anymore.
They have no food anymore. In 2 hours, it was all gone.
What?
They were stress eating.
Yeah.
Finals are a very difficult time, and
I understand.
Young girls in my cat just knocked something over. Young girls in high school, they have to eat a lot to
survive. Yeah. So again, so you said that is next week the very special episode of graduation?
Yes.
It's next week, isn't the very special episode that is the precursor to the entire sequence in Bridesmaids where everyone has catastrophic diarrhea?
I believe that's the teaser. It's
okay.
The teaser takes one of those where it takes place in the bathroom, and it's instead of them all over the sink, it's them all over the toilet. They're all squeezing around. Mrs. Garrett requires a very large toilet.
Yes.
And so it can fit 4 teenage girls on it, and that's, you'll see.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the build up to what we're getting to. Okay. Cool.
Yes. All right. So let's just very quickly. Take My Finals, Please is the name of the episode. Season 4, episode 22. Azad Kalata, Faye and Wolpert. No guest cast, no cafeteria. Let's get into this.
Mm-hmm.
So the episode starts with a graphic, which I adored. I was like, ooh, goosebumps. 8 p.m.
Inset. 8 p.m.
I loved it. All the girls all pile into the bedroom with bags of supplies. Joe is tasked.
No. Only Natalie has supplies. Natalie,
okay, that is very true. I feel like they really do.
All the other girls have their study, their books and their textbooks and their notebooks. Natalie's the only one who has the snacks. She's on snack brigade because why? She's fat, and that's the only thing that those writers think that she's capable of doing.
She needs to be a food journalist. That would be the best job for her. Just if she needs a backup plan. Food blog.
Food blog, certainly not any sort of science-related anything.
No, she's not the best at that. But Joe, also not the best at modern history. She's got her final tomorrow. It's her first one. And she doesn't have her textbook on World War II because Blair lost it.
What was this?
I mean, I think the idea here was that I know that you say that they were shrieking, and I get it. I grew up with 5 sisters, so to me this was very homey.
Okay.
But I will say that this is them playing A, the stress of finals getting to them, and B, the fact that they've been together for 9 months and they're all getting on each other's nerves. I think that's what they were playing. So you're supposed to think, because they've done this before, like, we hate each other, we're moving out, and then it's like, oh, we accidentally had a paint fight. So I feel like this was the classier version of that.
However, but again, this and I made this criticism, I guess, last week. To be perfectly frank, it could have been any of the other podcasts that we've recorded, where it's like, I'm not sure you understand how words work. It's like, if
you're not talking to me,
not you, I'm talking.
I know, but I was like, when you said it, I was like, oh, I'm hurt, and then I was like, wait, she's talking to Faye and Wolpert.
Yeah. So then it's like, so here's the thing. It's like if Blair had lost Joe's lucky calculator, okay, and she could just get a new calculator tomorrow morning. But if you lose someone's textbook the night before their big giant history exam, that means an automatic F. So it's like Faye and Wolpert chose like the most insane thing for Blair to have lost.
It's fine though, because Blair's able to fill her in on what happened during World War II, so she can pass the test, which is that Germany lost.
Yeah, that's it.
Hopefully that'll be on the final.
Yeah.
Natoots wants them to friggin' calm down. They've got finals too, and unlike Blow, they haven't yet gotten into college. It's always struck me how it's so weird. It's like, you already got into college. Why are you even taking a final?
Okay, I literally wrote down a whole screen about this. So thank you for bringing it up. So Joe's like, you're tense. Like, these are finals. These are finals, you know? And like, Tootie's like, I don't understand this. She's the only voice of reason for some reason at this point. Why are you stressing out about this? We still have to, this matters to us. If you're in college, so presumably if they're graduating next week, none of this matters.
That is how finals work. You do have, but why do they do this? Why do you have finals when you're a senior?
They don't matter anymore.
I know, but they do happen. I remember having them and being like, this is bullshit. This is a weird feeling.
Yeah. And you know what happens when you call out that when you're in school, when you're me? You walk out of them and you go and have lunch at the local diner because you're like, I'm in college, deuces everyone. And I walked out of my AP history exam because I was like, this doesn't matter.
Well, we all don't have balls as big as you, Britt. I definitely took my finals and felt like it was really stupid that I was taking them. And Blair and Joe took their finals and took them very seriously, as if like they get to Langley and they're like, wait a minute, you got a C on World War II? Go back to Eastland. You're doing another year.
No, and the other thing is that and apparently, like, for being the smartest person, she's going to be the valedictorian, the smartest person at Eastland. Joe is unbearably stupid in this episode because she says, if we fail, we're going straight to the army.
What was that? That is such a weird thing.
They're little girls. They're 17-year-old girls. It's hard enough to get into the army if you're a girl. So what is this? In what world, what realm does she operate in?
Okay, so now in all the things in this episode, I mean, there's definitely like...
I'm taking my hoodie off because I'm already overheating.
Well, I really do agree with you on this point. I felt like this beginning point, I was like, oh, this isn't as good as I remember. It definitely got where I remembered it being, but I was like, this is bullshit. Going to the army? Like, that is the stakes? Because I was really, like, desperate. Like, I was like, okay, now I know why Tootie cares, because she's got to go to acting camp, drama camp.
Yeah, so Blair's like, Blair's like, you only want to do well on your finals so as to be in your parents' good graces so that you can go to drama camp. And Tootie's...
I loved that Tootie was like, yeah, that's right.
Exactly. Tootie's like, that's correct. Why? I don't understand. Do you not understand how to make people do what you want them to do? Do you need me to teach you how to be a sociopath? Sociopathology 101? Tootie Ramsey adjunct? I don't know. But anyway, the other great thing is that, again, Joe says something completely stupid. She goes, drama club? Drama camp? What do they make you hike to Hollywood?
Yes. That was also very bad.
And so we're like 3 minutes in, and here's where I am, where I was like, Dominic compared this episode to the one of the most famous episodes of the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
I said it is their Chuckles Bites the Dust. I didn't say it is Chuckles Bites. I just want to clarify. I think this is a beloved episode of a show in 1983. I don't think shows that were for and about kids were anywhere near as sophisticated as this episode was, to be fair.
What sophisticated? What are you talking about?
I'm not talking about this army bullshit, but just in general, the nuances of the relationships and the emotions of the characters and the fears that were actually realistic and the laughs that came out of real life, people busting each other's chops, which is really what I grew up with in my family, was very relatable, as opposed to like wacky situations where, things, fall down and whatnot. But that was how I took it. But Natalie very dramatically says that the girls can't say fail.
Yep.
This was workshopped and reworded for the 1984 film Goonies, where they weren't allowed to say die. This was the inspiration. Steven Spielberg talks about it all the time. Natalie's sweater looks like she just filmed a bukkake scene with a bunch of Smurfs.
Yeah.
Assuming that Smurf semen is blue, which I assume it is.
Why would you assume that it's blue?
I mean, everything else about them is blue.
Is their shit blue?
I assume so.
What do they eat?
Smurf berries, which are blue.
Okay, so then, I mean, that does make sense that maybe their semen is blue.
Mm-hmm. And sweet.
Okay, sure. If all they eat is Smurf berries, then probably yes. At least
if you had to have sex with one Smurf, who would it be?
Smurfette.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You'd go gay for a Smurf?
Yeah.
For me, it's Hefty all the way.
Of course.
He's got the little tattoo. He's got the gruff voice.
I mean, to be honest, I'd probably go with Gargamel. I don't know.
He is not a Smurf.
I know.
So you can't have Gargamel.
But what about Gargamel's cat?
Okay, Azrael is awesome, an underrated character in the pantheon of cartoons. I love Azrael. Probably my favorite cartoon cat.
What?
Who's better?
Garfield?
Nah, I like Azrael better. I like Azrael better than Felix.
Sylvester?
I like Azrael better than Sylvester. That is correct.
Nermal?
Oh, now it's tough. All right, we're off topic. So Tootie says that Natalie shouldn't freak out because she always does well, but Natalie has some added pressure. Apparently, if she doesn't do well, her dad's gonna die.
Yeah. Again, here's the thing. I was sort of like, well, what is this? Why are they bringing this up? Just have her be like, if I get another C-, my dad's going to dock my allowance. Not if I don't do well, I'm going to kill my dad.
You know what's funny? She does.
She kills her dad?
Yeah, so I don't think she does well on these exams because 18 episodes later, that guy's dead.
Well,
spoiler alert, guys. Yeah, I think that was a crazy...
But it's a bizarre thing because it's like, so
it's very Jewish.
Well, no, but again, it's also just sort of like, I get it's to make it so that Natalie has a reason aside from wanting to do well on her final exams, Well,
yeah, Tootie has drama camp. And Natalie has drama in her family.
Okay.
So Nat tries to throw out the first Oreo, which is apparently a very big deal.
Yeah.
Both Blair and Joe want the first Oreo.
Is this like throwing out the first pitch at a lesbian softball game?
It's more like maybe like a bear foam party.
Okay.
I feel like the bears would be more excited for the Oreo than the lesbians.
Well, but then the thing is it's so Blow is, and they're fighting over it and they're bickering over it, and then and Blair gets it, And then,
Well, Blair says she offers to split it,
yeah.
seemingly unaware that what the word first means because there's going to be more. And then Joe assumes that Blair wants to side with the cream.
Yep.
Which means that Joe does not understand that there's another way to split an Oreo.
Yeah. So again, Joe is demonstrating severe mental challenges in this episode.
She's stressed out about finals.
Yeah.
She's just focused on that. Yeah, Natalie, however, points out that Oreos rarely come in single packs, and they usually bring their friends, and so everybody's got Oreos to go around. Blair and Joe are really getting on each other's nerves today.
Yeah. So here's the thing that I got wound up about. Aside from
the moo juice,
it was the moo juice. So Natalie's rifling through her giant bag of groceries to talk about all the things that she has, all these, very, intelligent brain food that she has for her roommates and best friends. She got those sleeves of Oreos, and she says, and we've got to wash it all down, some moo juice, which I vomited into my own mouth.
I knew you would. I really knew. I heard that, and I was like, Britt's not going to like that.
I don't like it. And I also thought, as soon as I saw it, I thought, why can't they just keep that in the refrigerator downstairs? They live above an industrial kitchen. Why they have no refrigerator in that room? And that is a half a gallon of milk. Presumably, they're not going to drink that much milk.
Moo juice
that night. So they're just going to have hot milk.
What are you talking about? Because they devoured everything within 2 hours, including a whole banana cake that we never even saw. And the only thing that was left that they were coveting, sharing, was the last of the chocolate milk that they were going to turn into hot cocoa with some kind of terrifying device we'll get into later. But we learn that the reason why they're not going to put it in the fridge is because Mrs. Garrett's officially locking down the kitchen for the evening.
Yeah, so
how is that possible?
I don't know. So, but here's the thing: is that so she enters with this.
There's like 7 ways to get into that kitchen.
Yeah, as we've covered before, it's like an Escher painting. It's like if you go in one door, you come in the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like.
I'm not even talking the cafeteria, though. There's stairs that go right to the girls' room. There's a door that goes outside. There's a swinging door that goes to the cafeteria. And then there's some kind of like weird hallway thing. There's many, many, many options to get in there. How is she locking this down? Physically, how is she going to be able to?
I don't know. Maybe she's barricading herself in there and preventing them from coming in. Anyway, so she comes in with this huge mountain of food.
Yes. Lots of fruits.
It is a huge tray that Charlotte Rae struggles to get in through the door and to the table. Like it's very big and very heavy. It is covered in sandwiches and like I would say at least half a dozen oranges, half a dozen apples, like 2 bushels of bananas.
So many bananas.
And like a huge amount of carrots. It's as though craft services was like, just take everything we have. I don't know. Just take it all.
I agree with you. It was absurd. And then to learn that they have eaten it all within 2 hours, along with Natalie's provisions, was shocking.
It was shocking. And the thing is that she comes in and they're like, well, she's like, well, I brought you all these sandwiches and provisions to keep you going for the evening. And then Natalie's all pissy being like, how can you do this to us in our time of need, Mrs. Garrett? How the fuck can you how can you shut shop down in our time of need, Mrs. Garrett? And she's like, well, remember last year when you broke into the kitchen? So clearly she tried to lock them out last year.
I know. Oh, that drove me nuts too.
No, and so she's like, yeah, well, you broke in last year, and you ate $80 worth of Baker's chocolate. That's disgusting. That's chaotic. That's such chaotic energy. First of all, Baker's chocolate has no sugar in it. It's like they were looking for heroin.
It's so strange. It's such a strange visual. $80 worth is an insane amount as well. That's like 100 bars in 1983 money.
I don't understand how all of them don't look like blimps.
Well, I mean, they called it the Fats of Life for a reason. And by they, I mean Joan Rivers. But yeah, no, that is so much chocolate. And the logic is completely... Natalie would be dead. But
why do they all have diabetes?
Because there's no sugar in the Baker's.
I guess that's true.
So the girls explain they gotta cram, but Mrs. Garrett's old school. Back in her day, they didn't cram. They also didn't have any wars yet to study about. But she advocates for a good night's rest, and they tell her politely to go fuck herself.
Yeah. Although here's the thing, Mrs. Garrett, I completely agree with Mrs. Garrett. I think anyone who has to cram hasn't been doing their due diligence all semester. I'm firmly in the camp of get a good night's rest before a big test, not stay up all night and eat until you explode.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have done both. Anyway, so Tootie explains that they have to do this because they can't even remember what they learned last week, let alone at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So Nat pop quizzes Tootie. Who discovered nitrogen?
Einstein?
Yeah, that was a bad guess. I'm worried that Rifle Ramsey is gonna die too. I don't know if he shares the same doctor as Natalie's dad.
So first of all, I do have to say that it is pretty obscure and a weird thing to put on a chemistry test, to like have to not only memorize the entire periodic table of elements, but also who discovered them and when. That is
yeah.
That I think is a little bit too much for, any child's brain.
Well, that's why they're so stressed out, and then why they're eating so much. The standards at Eastland are impossibly high, and also the appetites.
True. Anyway, so Natalie asks Tootie who discovered nitrogen, and she goes Einstein. Wrong. Right. Mm-hmm. Einstein obviously discovered relativity, and then goes to Natalie decides to go to Joe, who again just pulls a name out of her head, out of her hat. She's just like, oh, I got this, Marie Curie. Nope. Again, closer, because she did discover two elements. She discovered radium and polonium, because she was Polish. She named it after Poland.
Nice.
Yeah, she was actually a very interesting and, incredibly smart, wonderful woman who is the only woman she was the first woman to win the Nobel Prize in science. And then she was the only woman to win it in the Nobel Prize twice, and the only person to win the Nobel Prize in two separate scientific fields. She was a smart cookie.
That's pretty badass. Well, maybe that was why they wanted to drop her name in there on this episode.
Again, that's the thing about this show, is that they just drop the name. They don't explain anything.
They expect the audience to Google.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very normal, 1980. Oh, you know what I'm going to do once I watch this episode of The Facts of Life? I'm going to go to the local library and I'm going to learn about the periodic table of elements.
I am going to have an ambiance night.
I'm surprised this wasn't an ambiance night.
Oh, that's true. Especially with those stinky pillows. No wonder Blair's spraying them down.
I know. Well, the other funny thing is that so then Natalie goes to Mrs. Garrett for the answer.
Oh yes, and she's like,
But like, what was the purpose of this, Natalie? Was this to humiliate your dietitian old lady friend?
I think she assumed she'd know, because everybody in Eastland knows that Daniel Rutherford discovered nitrogen.
Mm-hmm. Of course, in 1772.
Yes. Mrs. Garrett makes. Oh, sorry. Go
I
ahead.
just want to say something. I just wanted to nitrogen explain for a moment.
Nitrosplane.
Yeah. So the largest use of nitrogen is for the production of ammonia.
Not nitro brew coffee.
No, but close. Anyway, so it's for the production of ammonia, which can then be used to make fertilizer, which is what this television show is.
Walked right into that one. Mrs. Garrett tries to make one more pitch for sleep, but it fails. She yawns loudly. Nothing works. She sings to them, and I'm hoping you might sing for us tonight.
What does she sing?
She sings lullaby and good night.
Well, thank you for doing your Mrs. Garrett impression.
I try. Just in case. It felt like you wanted me to. It felt like you were leading. As what? Oh, what does she sing? And then Joe fucking's like, get the fuck out of here. She's like, oh, all right. I enjoyed her serenade. Nat decides she's head coach and gives everybody a pep talk.
Yeah.
They all cheer her on, and then she retreats to her bottom bunk to study. And Tootie's the first one to crack. She starts contemplating Susan Burkham.
Yeah. So everyone has retreated to their individual bed, which is, like, to be perfectly frank, not the place. And again, most people right now are working from home during the pandemic, if you're lucky to have a job at all. And a lot of people have worked from their beds, but it's the worst place to work from.
It's
your bed.
Literally where I do all things. All things. I did all my notes from the podcast. Like, it's like, all right, my notes are done. Let me put on pants and a shirt, move over to the couch, and look professional. Every time I have a business phone call, I'm in bed. If it's a business Zoom, it's like, ugh, and I get up and move to the living room. But I will do anything to stay and do all my work in bed. That's where I'm the most productive.
Well, okay. Well, but then you are very much not like any of these four girls.
No, these girls are not very productive.
As soon as...
I'm more of a Susan Burkham type.
Yeah. So everyone, as I said, just to paint the picture, everyone has retired to their bed. Tootie's on her bunk, and she's just like looking at, rather than like learning anything, she's just regarding who had this textbook before her. Some random person, Susan Burkham, another Eastland student, and then just starts ideating about what this woman could have been like.
Yeah, but aren't we to believe that Susan Burkham is probably like in Natalie's grade now? If she was the last one to have Tootie's textbook.
Oh, did she say she was the last one?
Well, no, but she said Susan Burkham had this book before me. And that's all she said. So I imply it was Susan Burkham and then it was Tootie. Otherwise, why would Tootie pick Susan Burkham? I assume that was the only other name that was there. Well, point being, she has fascinated this life of Susan Burkham's with up to 3 children, sometimes 2. And I just don't feel like that would be the case. Well, like, it would be like this book was from 1492, when Columbus was sailing around. Yeah. And it just got uncovered and released like in a tomb. It's like, oh, okay. Now it's Tootie's book.
Well, no, I mean, and I don't mean to defend by any means the writers of the Facts of Life.
Please do.
But when you would in the old days, when I was a kid, when you would have to get a new textbook for the year, schools would reuse textbooks until the facts were incorrect. Like
yeah, but I felt like it was always like 4 or 5 years. Like you always had like five people had it before you. They have the years, and you could see them. And I just don't feel like anybody is having a textbook that somebody who has 3 children once had. The facts change too fast.
Not on this show. Anyway, okay, sure, but yeah, you're right. I do think that Natalie uses herself from the thing at hand, which is to study for her exam. And so she's creating this fantasy life with this Susan Burkham, who, has a whole family, a career, 3 children, 2 children, 3 children, 2 children, 3 children, 2 children, until Natalie finally kicks her bed and tells her to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Blair freaks out that her procrastination has put her in a pickle. And so she asks the girls to procrastinate with her some more by playing cards. She is shut down.
Yeah.
And then Joe complains about the signature Eastland pillow smell, which explains why they have Aviance nights every now and then. And then Tootie asks for a cookie and gets yelled at by Natalie, who has no right to do that because all Natalie does is ask for cookies.
I know. As I said, everyone is very annoying in this. And Natalie is actually, we did text about this. You said Natalie's the MVP of this episode. Nope. Unbelievably annoying. Every aspect. Even when she put on her stupid hat.
Nope. Disagree. That hat is iconic. It's one of the greatest moments in television history. So when Natalie yells at Tootie for asking for a cookie, Blair then goes, "So who wants banana cake?" And Natalie's like, "Hell yeah."
She's like, whoa.
Blair knows that there's one way to calm down a bitchy Natalie, and that's give her some bedroom cake.
True.
She loves bedroom cake. She has for 4 years. That ain't going anywhere. So we get some bedroom cake, and we fade to 10 p.m. because I don't think they actually had that cake.
No, it was not on camera.
Yes. So I feel like they just have to work around it. But now it's 10 p.m. I assumed that the girls studied from then until now, after they ate their cake.
Yeah, I did too.
So they're hard at work. Natalie's wearing her iconic lightning bolt hat. Improves her studying techniques. I have looked for that hat for years, and I brought this up to former guest of the podcast, Peter Ladola.
He's a hat.
I'm sorry?
He's a hat guy.
No, Cody is a hat guy.
Sorry.
I understand why you would think that, but yeah, no. Peter found it. It's a Free Mountain cap from 1978, and it was part of their Vegemals series.
What is a Vegemal?
I don't know.
Okay.
I should have Googled that, and I really do want to know what a Vegemal is. So let's see if we can find out together.
Because I was like Googling it, like trying to figure it out too. I thought it was Flash Gordon for a while, and then I thought it might have been Captain America has a sort of similar hat situation.
So it's weird because it's characters, the Vegemals, on the Octonauts.
You are using words that I don't understand.
Okay, the Octonauts is a show that my godson Lou loves. He's 4, and basically they're astronauts of the sea, and they have these sidekicks that are called the Vegemals, and they're like the top is a carrot, and then the bottom has like cute little legs and an arms.
Okay.
And like there's like a radish, and I'm just looking at them now, but that is not what. So when I Googled this before, that's all I could come up with.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a modern day thing, the Vegemals. That is not from 78. So whatever the 78 Vegemals thing, it might have just been its brand name. We're going to get to the bottom of this. And Facts of Lovelies, if anybody has a Natalie hat, a Nat hat, I would love one. I found one on Pinterest used that was originally $770. But it was discounted to $50, and then it was sold. So I will pay up to $55 for a lightning bolt cap.
Dominic, your birthday's coming up, so
Okay, it's so far from my birthday that it's like I feel like you've cheapened the expression "your birthday's coming up." Let's see. 9 months away. Yes, my birthday is coming up, and so are the the babies of people that are having sex tonight.
It's true. But I was going to say that it was my birthday relatively recently.
It sure was. And peep those flowers in the background. They may be blurry, but they are luscious.
They are. And I was thanking someone for via text for the gift they gave me, and she said, and I sent her something else, and she said, "Oh my God, should we get matching ones of this?" And I said yes, and I said, "Christmas is coming." So
all things are coming, according to you, Britt.
Yeah.
It is always going to be a Christmas in the future, no matter what day it is.
Halloween is around the corner.
It's closer than Christmas, you weirdo. So Tootie's got her headphones on, and she is singing "Celebration" by Kool and the Gang.
Sure is.
Natalie seems pretty annoyed by this, even though nobody else seems to be even remotely concerned.
It is extremely annoying.
Well, Natalie snaps Tootie's pencil.
That was rough. That was, I mean, that's actually where I thought that the violence might come in here, that there might be some Shiv type situation.
Oh, if only. Tootie's like, yo, what's the big deal? And Natalie's like, nothing. If my test is on Kool and the Gang, my heart sang.
It sang or sank?
Sang.
Mine sank.
You didn't laugh at that?
No.
How do you not laugh at that? Celebration is actually Kool and the Gang's only #1 single.
I mean, I don't think I didn't know that, but I also don't think I've been to a single event, from a bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, to a wedding, to, a baby shower, a bris, a funeral, where
remember when you came to my birthday party and it was just me and you in my apartment and I played that song on a loop until you left?
Yeah, I remember that. That was last year for your birthday.
Yes, that was my big 40. It was released in 1980 as a single from the album Celebrate, released on D-Light Records. It is, it's in the Library of Congress.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yes, it has been preserved.
Because we can never be rid of it? We always have to hear it?
It is of note.
Okay.
It has been at enough weddings that it's in the Library of Congress. So Nat shouts, if you don't put that thing away, I'm going to sit on your neck. And then she just goes back to studying with her lightning bolts, going back and forth. And the audience laughed for a solid 30 seconds. And I did as well.
I wanted to destroy that hat.
I was laughing so hard at this moment. And I knew this moment was coming up. I was waiting for this moment. I love this moment. And I still laughed like it was new. I'm going to sit on your neck.
What's so interesting about this is that like, I found this so obnoxious and you found it so charming.
So charming. Like, dying, like laughing so hard. Really does. This, I said it at the beginning of the podcast, like when we started, that I liked this show because it reminded me of my sisters. Here it really does. This is probably the most I'm reminded of them. It takes me back to a simpler time. And yeah, like I had a sister that would sit on your neck if you were pissing her off.
So again, maybe that's the thing, is that I'm an only child. So I don't, I was never locked in a room with 3 other girls of similar age, and
that explains so much about your personality.
And told to basically just like, get her done and study for the day and whatever. And like, it's the way.
To be fair, my sisters were never locked up in a room.
No, but the way that they
were just mean to each other.
Yeah, and so the way that these girls act with one another feels so hyper sitcom-y and forced, because it seems obnoxious just for a laugh and for an unearned laugh. Like the hat, okay, I get that. But then again, that's just a very silly hat.
It's a hat I want to own and would wear everywhere I went.
Okay. But again,
And also, I think it looks really good backwards.
it doesn't.
I thought it did.
It
I don't know what to say.
like it makes her look like fucking God, the cartoon moose.
Uh, Bullwinkle? Okay, I don't see it, but okay. Tootie is looking for retaliation, so she spitefully says that she hates Natalie's hat, even though it's perfect. And Nat explains the hat's origin story. It's her exam hat. She wears it twice a year, every year. We know this. The lightning bolts are her brainwave conductors.
Yeah.
Which is something I think about a lot.
Yep, because it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Those felt lightning bolts, brainwave conductors.
I assume there is a metal wire that goes in there to hold the foam's shape, and that is the real conductor. Anyway, sadly, Nat starts to peas and carrots the remainder of her explanation, which sucks because I really wanted to know way more about what that hat could do for her. But we move over to Blow, and they are bickering as well. Blair needs a highlighter, and Joe is pretending like she lost it to be spiteful to Blair for losing her textbook, which seems to make sense to me.
It's so funny because it's this casual cruelty, and for no reason. It's like, and again, it's like I can see it. It's in your fucking hand, Joe. It's like the camera zoomed in on that fucking highlighter. I could see it, and Joe's like, I don't know what kind of I don't have a highlighter. I lost it. I lost it. Yeah.
I thought it was sick. So evil. Nat starts to bemoan the periodic table. She knows most of the elements, but Hg for mercury? What the fuck? Au for gold? I don't think so. Nat has a brilliant idea. Word association. So this is her idea. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Tootie does. My bad. Tootie has this idea. When you need to think of mercury, you think of H.G. Wells. That makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it doesn't not make sense.
I feel like she could have extrapolated further. I came up with a way to make it make sense.
Okay.
Which was that H.G. Wells, obviously the father of science fiction, Mercury, a planet, maybe aliens live on there.
There you go.
See, I feel like if she had just stretched it out a little bit, it would be as solid as the gold one, which is solid.
The gold one, I will say, not bad.
I have thought about that since I was a kid. If you had asked me anytime what the element for gold is, I would be able to tell you no other elements, just gold.
And so the funny thing, the other thing is that so when I was Googling Natalie's hat to figure out this fucking origin story of the hat, I discovered a blog that recaps the facts of life. And they recapped this one, and it was very sweet. And the person who wrote it said, I never forgot the element gold because of this mnemonic device. She's like
100%.
So any of the other ones, she's like, I'm a lawyer. I have no idea what the other ones are, but this right here educated me.
It's true. It is 100% true. Anyway, Tootie doesn't understand why studying is even a thing. So she sounds like it's 180 out of nowhere. It's like, here, you gotta study. You know, you gotta do word association. Why are we studying?
Yeah.
Studying is stupid. Why do we need to learn to conjugate Latin verbs? What does that have to do with the cosmos? And then upon hearing cosmos, everybody just like lets out an audible groan as though Tootie has had some kind of weird bullshit cosmos subplot all season long that they edited out.
Yeah. Or, someone just like ripped a big one and everyone was like, oh God, we should just sigh over it. I don't know. It was completely irrelevant and weird.
Well, Joe explains subjects don't matter.
Well, so here's where I thought this is where things kind of shifted gears for me with Joe, because this entire episode, Joe has been fretting about learning these facts. She has to pass these exams. She has to pass history. She has to know about, World War II and what happened. She has to know these things. And then all of a sudden she shifts gears and she's like, an education isn't really so much about the subjects. It's about teaching you how to think, right? And it's like, you were just fretting about passing these exams because of your finals. So,
and you also have proven that you don't know how to think very well.
Yeah.
This
so
episode
what just happened?
Yeah, I feel like suddenly the episode got good. Like once the hat went on, the whole episode clicked into place, and now everybody's
once the hat. Okay.
Yeah. So Tootie points out that as an actress, she does not need to think.
Yeah, and I wrote down LOL ? And then I just thought, again, why do television writers and all writers who work in entertainment, why do we constantly need to hammer in the stupid old trope of the dumb actress? Why
it's so ever present in this town that the writers are so reminded of it on the reg.
Yeah, exactly. So it's sort of like, the notoriously mean-spirited Friends writing room where they were just mean to the actors because they thought they were just assholes. And it's sort of like, this is where this starts. It's like with Tootie being a 13-year-old, being like an aspiring actress, being like, I don't need to think. I don't need to learn. I'm going to be an actress. As though that's what an actress is. This is cementing that notion into little girls and little boys' minds like you.
I don't think that actresses don't need to think. And I also thought they were saying, they were like, laugh at Tootie for thinking the wrong thing. But
again.
Anyway, Natalie, however, has to study because she's going to be a journalist and journalists study. And then Blair does this really weird thing where she's like, hey, Nat, have you ever thought what would happen if you don't become a journalist?
Yeah.
And not, hey, Tootie, being an actress is hard and you might not be able to make it. There's a lot of people trying. Have you ever thought about what would happen if you're... No, Tootie's going to be an actress. That makes a lot of sense. But Natalie, I don't know about this whole journalism thing. The only thing you ever talk about all the time, what happens if it doesn't happen?
But again, as I just wrote down, as typical facts of life, it's this weird, needless cruelty. Is this the time to bring this up, Blair?
It wasn't meant to be cruel, though. Like, it's not written to be cruel, but it is very weird and cruel. I agree with you.
It is written to be cruel. Hey, Natalie, while you're fretting at 1 a.m. about your future and the fact that your father's life is in your hands about your exams, you know what? Are your dreams going to get crushed because you're shitty at the thing that you want to do for the rest of your life? Have you ever thought about that? Should you go into a spiral of anxiety right now? Yeah, let me help you along.
I actually liked that. Natalie was actually quite confident in her career. She is scoops and newsprint.
Scoops, news, and headlines.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything that Natalie is, it's not confident. But when it came to, what are you going to do for the rest of your life? She's like, this is it. So good for her.
No, and then she's like, so she's like, yes. She's like, no, but I'm news through and through. I'm news through and through. Scoops, newsprint, and the headlines. And then she's like, yeah, so Tootie, what did I just say? She's like, yeah. And then Tootie's like, yeah, what she said, she's scoops and newsprint. I don't know. Who gives a shit? I stopped listening halfway through that sentence.
Tito's scoops.
They're so mean to one another.
That was pretty mean right there. Anyway, yes. Joe adds that she wanted to be a race car driver, but now she wants to teach kids.
Yeah. And I wrote down, in a rare moment of honest vulnerability, where she reflects upon the fact that she always wanted to be a race car driver, but now that she's become so well educated at Eastland and she's learned all these things, which she clearly hasn't, she says, actually, I was considering being a teacher. I want to teach kids. And then what happens? Blair blows in with more needless cruelty and shits on her dream for no fucking reason.
Gang warfare for toddlers.
What is this obsession with Joe and her apparent gang life?
Well,
What was she, a member of the Crips?
it really it very much seems like they're implying that yes, she probably killed one or two people. She's definitely, held up a couple of liquor stores. This was all before she was 12. I don't know.
But it's like we can't get away from that gang joke. We had it last week.
We can't.
We have it this week. Do we have it next week when Joe is delivering her valedictory speech? Is she can be like, back in the days when I was running with the Bronx Bombers in my gang life, I never thought I would be able to go to Langley, but now I get to go to Langley.
Yes, I think she's going to say something like that. Yes. I might have enjoyed a deeper dive into this conversation, but the horror of horrors, Natalie has noticed that all of the cookies have been eaten.
No,
I hope that our thumbnail is both of us with our hands up.
It's not only she notices the empty bag of Oreos, right? But the huge tray of refuse of like cored apples and banana peels and like sandwich crusts and just trash. And it's just this huge, like I felt as though like if this was a cartoon, there would be like little like fruit flies like going around it because it was just this massive pile of old food garbage.
If this was a cartoon, they would have giant tummies and they'd all be leaning on their back and rubbing them.
Anyway, so they notice. So Natalie freaks the fuck out.
Yeah, she does. They all realize that Mrs. Garrett's backup food's been eaten in 2 hours, which is so crazy.
Yeah.
Blair will go on to say it's 11 p.m. at one point.
Yes.
But that's still within the 10 p.m. graphic scene.
Okay.
So I don't know if we're supposed to believe that an hour has passed during that scene. I just want to clarify that for time. It may have been 3 hours, but regardless, they ate a lot of food.
Yeah.
So Tootie has a brilliant idea, though. They should order pizza.
Yeah.
Deep dish, everything on it. She screams it like it's the most genius thing that's ever been said and their only hope for survival.
I mean, here's the thing. If someone suggests to me at any point at 11 o'clock at night saying, hey, do you want to order a pizza? Usually I'm excited. That's a good idea. I am too. Yeah, so like I'm here for that. But
I am too.
Yeah. So they're excited about this. Everyone's jazzed. Blair isn't so much. And then what happens?
She thinks it's too late, but Joe knows an all-night place because of course she does.
Yeah, an all-night place in Middleton, which is 20 miles away. What is Joe doing? Like, what does she do on the weekends? Does she just go to all-night pizza joints 20 miles away to hang out with her gang friends?
I think that's what they're implying, yes.
Or does she have the food blog? She just biking around the, lower Hudson Valley trying to find all the great pizza restaurants.
I mean, I could say that, let's say, Joe's, just taking one of her drives, because the vibrations of the motorcycle help her think.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets 20 miles out to Middleton. She's like, oh, shit, I need gas. She goes, gets gas. Hey, look, a 24-hour pizza place. Well, that is something. You don't see that in Peekskill. Gets back on her thing and drives. Never thinks about it again until this moment.
True, maybe. Yeah. I guess
so. Anyway, Joe apparently has their digits also, though. She knows
about this. She knows where it is. She knows their hours of operation. And she knows their phone number.
And Nat apparently knows that they offer deep dish, which not every pizza place does, especially when you're that far upstate.
Certainly not. Most places in New York would not. I mean, they might, but not deep dish. Ugh.
No, it would have to be like Pizzeria Uno or something.
Yeah. Anyway, so what happens? Then a tiny little slip of paper comes underneath the door.
Oh, is that not the world's thinnest pizza?
Yeah.
Because be very careful. Natalie may eat this note, and we may never find out what it is.
So it's a tiny little piece of paper, and Natalie says, unless that's a very thin piece of pizza, a thin crust pizza, I'm not interested. And she says that like she's Chris Farley on SNL. Like she's like, Lay off me, I'm starved. If that's not a thin crust pizza, I don't care about it. And then they look at the little piece of paper, and what is it? It's the answer to.
It just says Daniel Rutherford, and they're all like, "What?" And then Mrs. Garrett opens the door and goes, well, you should say it.
Daniel Rutherford, he discovered nitrogen. And then closes the door like a total cunt behind her.
So weird how she closed the door. She like gives them a bunch of shoulder and then like closes the door intentionally, slowly, but also like methodically. Like it always maintains the same slow pace so you can get all that shoulder. Very weird. Very weird moment.
Was that to demonstrate the fact that she was sort of gloating about the fact that she learned this fact, or was it the fact that she now she knows that she doesn't have to study? She's like, I'm gonna go to bed. Bye.
I guess it was that one. It was so weird the way that she delivered it. Like, you don't need to slip the note. You don't need to. None of this was normal.
It's such a bizarre, it's like a weird, like, I guess, callback to like an irrelevant question from many hours ago, where she's just showing up, where it's like, if Natalie had been doing her homework or her studying, she probably would have figured out, she would have been looking in her textbook, been like, yeah, Mrs. Garrett, we already know. Daniel Rutherford, yeah, we're miles ahead. We're 3 hours from this. And then Mrs. Garrett just shows up being like,
I think that the subplot of this is that nobody needs to know who discovered what element.
Okay.
So it's now midnight.
Yes.
And Nat is stalking the window looking for the pizza guy.
Yeah, everyone's in their pajamas, and Natalie's still in her goddamn hat.
Yes. Joe yells at Natalie to sit down, but Nat's concerned this guy could be dead on the side of the road with a bunch of buzzards picking at her deep dish.
What is this?
It's concern for a pizza delivery man. So Tootie has to sacrifice her chocolate milk just to get Natalie to shut the fuck up.
So it's been an hour, right?
Yes.
How fast are their metabolisms? How starving are they? What is going on here? Also, at this point, if they're this hungry, out of the goodness of her heart, Mrs. Garrett should be like, you know what? I'm going to unlock the kitchen for you guys. Go make yourself a pizza.
Yeah, knock on the door and be like, hey, could you feed us a little bit? Sorry. We don't want to eat $80 of your baking chocolate again.
Yeah.
So Tootie is making some hot chocolate out of chocolate milk for Natalie, which is weird. It's too sleepy of a beverage for me if you're having an all-night study session. Hot chocolate, so cozy. It's just like, have that hot chocolate, go to bed with a nice warm chocolatey tummy. You're done.
You mean the chocolate moo juice?
Yes, the chocolate moo juice. My bad.
Anyway, so here's the thing. Natalie's flipping out. She's pacing around like, a tiger in a cage, and Joe's like, you need to calm the fuck down. And she's like, my pizza's on the line, and Tootie's like, okay. I will make you some hot cocoa using my backwash of my chocolate moo juice. Hold on, give me 1 second. Then, very mysteriously, goes over to their table of devices, their medieval torture devices that they have that are all plugged into the wall. I thought there was going to be at least two Hitachi wands over there. There's an alarm clock, a coffee mate, and then this device, which is an interesting thing. It's a plug-in spoon that heats up.
It seems so dangerous.
It's unbelievably dangerous. That should not be in children's room.
It should not be in stores.
I doubt you could find it now. It's literally a coil that you plug in and put in your cup to heat the water, rather than using a hot plate, which is again very dangerous.
Yeah, it's like if you want your boiling water to have like a a string that's attached to it, a cord that you could knock it over and shoot the burning coil at. Everything about this seems like an electrical fire in the making.
Yeah.
It's very concerning. I feel like Joe could insert it in herself by mistake. It makes me very uncomfortable. Well, you saw what she keeps under her pillow.
Exactly. And so what happens? So we follow Tootie over to the giant bedside table of plugged in devices.
Yes, she calls it mission control.
Yeah, to gently reveal what did I write down? Chekhov's overloaded electrical outlet, right? So, and she's like, what is all this shit you have plugged in over here? And they're like, shut the fuck up, Tootie, make the hot chocolate. And so she unplugs like all this stuff.
She unplugs one thing, and she chooses to unplug the clock. It was a table of things that nobody would ever need that were plugged in for no reason. And she's like, well, I'm going to unplug the clock.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Blair has something to take their mind off of food.
Yeah. And
I definitely was not expecting Blair to start reciting porn right after the mission control speech.
Yeah. And it was, I mean, to be perfectly frank, almost too erotic to listen to. I mean,
did you flush hotly?
I'll to be perfectly frank, I came twice.
Now I'm flushing hotly. Yeah, so she reads this old lady porn from this book that she's reading instead of doing her studying, and she's just quietly titillating herself while Natalie talks about pizza wearing her nightgown and lightning bolts. What is going on in this room tonight?
Exactly. And here, so I was thinking about, just this sort of like the fundamental joy and pleasure that you can have from a bottle episode where people are locked in a room together,
And I am experiencing that joy right now.
Yes. But that in terms of sitcoms, right? So if you have a bottle episode and people are stuck inside, let's say they're snowed in, right? Or the car won't start, or, we lost our clothes in the flood. Who knows? I don't know. But like, there's so much like fun to be had in that.
And we are having it.
And the premise of this is that they have to study so badly, and they're not studying at all. So it gave me passive anxiety where I was like, first of all, as I said, they're going to demolish the toilets once all this is done. But also, they're not even doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're fretting about the pizza and they're fretting about the stupid hat. They're not doing.
They're reading porn.
Yeah.
Out loud to a group of children.
Yeah.
On a TV show for children. Mm-hmm. So Nat goes, she went from food to sex and I can't have either.
And the audience goes shit crazy.
As did I.
They were like, and I actually thought Mindy Cohn was going to break. I thought she was going to, because she looked like she so enjoyed saying that sentence out loud. I thought she was going to do a old school lick my top lip type situation, like an erotic, like. At least take the hat off, Natalie.
No, never take the hat off. She should have worn it to take the test, honestly. I really liked when Tootie asked Blair about the book, and then Natalie goes, "Could somebody hose Tootie down?"
Well, because Tootie is very like gingerly being like, her face flushed hotly. Because that's this last sentence that Blair just reads, being like, yes, these, it's like David and Rachel were enraptured with one another, and he looked down upon her and her face flushed hotly. And then they kissed. And Blair's just like, ooh. And Tootie's like, wait. Her face flushed hotly? Which again, enough of like kind of has enough of an erotic charge for Natalie to scream and say, hose that bitch down.
Yeah. One passage apparently reminds Blair of Chad, which makes Joe very jealous because she's like, that loser? Thought you said he gave the worst head out of anyone in Bates.
Yeah.
But Blair explains that Chad was a good kisser. There's really a knack to it.
Yeah.
And then Natalie's like, and I got it.
No. So I need to do the whole thing here. So
All right.
So
take your time.
So Joe says, Blair very sweetly is opining, being like, oh yeah, this very highly erotic thing about hot flashes is reminding me of Chad. And Joe's like, you mean that fucking loser? What the hell are you talking about? And Blair's like, oh, he was a great kisser. You know, it's funny, isn't it? You'd think kissing would be easy. Lips on lips. And I was like, this is why Dominik likes this episode, because that is the most like lesbian erotica I have ever heard in my life. Like I was like, lips on lips. What is she describing? Tribbing? Like I was like, this is like a ridiculous thing to even say.
Yeah, I think it was the first time that I felt like Joe's interest really peaked in this episode.
Lips on lips. What do we?
And there's a couple more times.
He's like, which set? Which set? Upstairs or downstairs? Upstairs or downstairs? Upstairs or downstairs?
Tell me it's downstairs. Yeah. So and then Nat has the knack.
Yeah.
She's apparently gotten some good feedback from Gil.
Yeah, she said, you know, she's like, I'm really good at kissing while wearing her goddamn Sonic the Hedgehog hat and in her like full-length sister wives pajamas. She's like very self-satisfied, like, I know I do good at kissing. I'm the best at it. I'm the best at this.
Well, apparently she's she practiced on herself for a significant portion of time. So she would know because she's been on both the receiving and the giving end of those kisses.
Yeah. Makes sense. She's been practicing on her hand.
Yeah, like how do you she's just like licking the is that what you do?
I guess. I don't know. That's not how I learned how to kiss.
What part of your body did you practice kissing on?
My
Go for an elbow pit.
Yeah.
You can kind of put lipstick on it and make it look like you can't really get to it right. Kind of. Anyway, we've digressed again. Nat asks Blair if she's ever flushed hotly, and the answer is no, although the visual I get is Blair in like a teddy being all sexy, but then on a toilet, just like turning over and plunging the flusher. Mm-hmm. That's flushing hotly in my book. Anyway.
No, but she's
maybe winking.
Yeah.
Blair says, while she's never flushed hotly, she has been warm a few times, which makes Natalie go crazy. She's like, whoa, wow, wee, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, Joe, have you ever flushed hotly? And yes, she has, with both David and Marie Thornwell and probably quite a few other girls on campus. But she says, shut up or I'll park on your neck. Then Mrs. Garrett comes in.
But again, like, this is the thing, is it like, this is why language matters, is that it's like, they keep saying flushed hotly, because it sounds exactly like hot flash, which is a menopausal term. And it's like, don't just say something else. Just use any other term. Just say, did you glisten? I don't know, you know, be imagined. How about come?
Mrs. Garrett comes to check on the girls. They say they're doing great, but then Tootie stretches and says she's tired, which is so annoying because she hasn't been tired this whole time. But once she's in front of Mrs. Garrett, the one person who's trying to impart their full night's rest theory, she all of a sudden betrays them all. It's like, oh, I'm tired and I'm little and we should take a nap.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have to listen to Mrs. Garrett rant about the benefits of the sleep all over again. She suggests a 10-minute cat nap, which Tootie jumps on because that was clearly her ulterior motive. And Blair's into it. She's like, all right, let's do it. And Joe's like, nope, I'm not tired.
I know. And then they all creep around her and yawn shame her
Well, yeah,
because
so
she's
Mrs. Garrett, like, pushes her boobs against Joe's back, and then Joe lets out a little tiny yawn. And it's like Mrs. Garrett knows that that's how it works.
yeah.
So then she says, did you yawn? And then Tootie crawls right into her face to be like,
Yeah.
did
And
you yawn? And then Mrs. Garrett rubs her boobs one more time into her back. And then Joe's like, ah, God damn it.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, so Blair set the alarm, and then it's just like, of course it was unplugged. I just wrote down, of course it was unplugged so that everyone can have a goddamn freak out in the, after they've had their shitty little nap, and then point fingers and assign blame to one another.
Yes, the camera took about 2 hours to pan down to show that the clock was left unplugged. So it wasn't even like a time lapse. It was just like in the time it took the camera to get there, it has now been 2 hours.
And then one lady in the audience was like, oh no.
Yeah, that was great.
She was like,
so
no,
now it's
God, plug it back in.
now it is 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Joe stirs, looks at her watch, and realizes that they overslept. She starts freaking out and waking up everybody, and then notices that Tootie plugged in her electric spoon, so creepy looking, into the wall and forgot to plug the clock back in.
Again, this would be so fucking dangerous.
Yes, because it's been there boiling that moo juice for 3 hours while these girls are asleep.
One would think that someone would notice the boiling moo juice.
And also, they showed us there are 90 million plugs back there. It's not like, oh, this outlet has 2 things in it. And I have to pick one. There were a million things. It was like unplugged. I don't know, that curler set that was up there. Anyway, yeah. What's one thing more important than the alarm clock on that table that shouldn't be unplugged on the day of finals? Nothing.
Yeah, no, the electrical spoon, obviously. That wins out.
So Natalie really starts to shit on Tootie. How could you do something so stupid? And Tootie's hurt. The guy was making that cocoa for you.
Yeah.
What was I supposed to do? Let you eat through the walls? Lol.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, she would have, but her friend was there to be like, here, have my cocoa. Otherwise, you'll eat through the walls. You'll be crazy. Natalie says replugging a plug is a simple thing, and Tootie's like, I'm not mechanical.
And again, like, this is the thing, is that it's yeah, and then they're all screaming and insulting one another. And then Natalie pulls it. Sorry, my cats are fighting. Natalie pulls out a classic insult that little girls use all the time with one another.
I bet, all the time.
All the time. I'm sure that if you asked a little girl today what a foxhole was, they would understand what you were talking about. Natalie says, let's just say I wouldn't want to be stuck in a foxhole with you.
And Tootie finds this to be the ultimate insult.
Yeah.
Even though most kids would be like, okay.
Yeah, like, really? Oh, sweet. I'm so glad that I don't have to be in war with you, Natalie, because you strike me as a very courageous person. Natalie strikes me as the person who would run away from the enemy.
She would probably write an article about how the enemy was giving out fake abortions or something. So Tootie demands to know why she's not foxhole material, and Nat explains about how last week in French class she was floundering with a translation, and Tootie could have helped her, but she just sat there like a cunt. And at this point, Tootie is grinning ear to ear.
And but again, like, here's my question: if I actually don't really understand what Natalie expected Tootie to do under those circumstances.
Whisper translate.
Whisper the answer to her and help her cheat?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that seems
What you
ethical.
do in foxholes?
That seems ethical, Ms. Journalism major.
Well, Tootie does not react to all this shit about being called selfish and stuff because she's used to being called a sociopath. So she's like water off the back. What she's not used to is one of Natalie's brainwave conductors flopping about all willy nilly.
Yeah.
She is losing a bolt, and Tootie is losing it in response.
Yeah. And I wrote down, now everyone thinks that this hat is making her look stupid.
Yes, now it does. Now, if it's wiggly,
now's the time. Okay.
It looked awesome before, and you know it. She looked like a superhero. Natalie demands to know what's so funny, but Tootie can't even get the words out.
Yeah.
And Joe goes to yell at them, and she's like, look, we already lost 2 hours because of Tootie, and Natalie... and she sees Natalie's wiggly bolt, and Natalie's like, Natalie, what? And Blair finally lets her know about the hat, and she's not thrilled. She's got to study at half wattage, and I love this moment so much.
The, Natalie's wiggly bolt.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And as if life couldn't get any better, what happens? Mrs. Garrett walks in with a freaking pizza. It didn't get lost.
No.
Just took 3 hours to get 20 miles.
Yeah. And so, but then Mrs. Garrett comes in, like in her nightie, and is like, who the fuck ordered this goddamn pizza at 2 in the goddamn morning? What the hell's going on? Who ate that 20-foot sub I made for you and the crate of bananas that I left for you? What is going on? Who ordered this, and why do you need this?
She's not as angry about it as you. But it's what?
Natalie explains, she's like, we had to eat everything. They're perishable.
She makes a good point.
No, that's a bad point.
They all attack the pizza like it's a man and they're a bunch of Natalies, or it's a pizza and they're a bunch of Natalies.
Mm-hmm.
Even Mrs. Garrett takes a slice for her stroll down memory lane. Mm-hmm. She's been in school since she's been in school. There have been 2 world wars. They put a man on the moon, and Elizabeth Taylor's been married 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
So when does that mean Mrs. Garrett was in school?
The 20s.
Okay, I like it. I liked watching you do math in your head. It was really what was the best. It was great.
I was like, 2 world wars? That can't be right.
Maybe it's just 2 wars, she said, not 2 world wars.
Yeah.
But they happened in the world.
Yes, that's true.
Blair announces that her shoulders are killing her, so Mrs. Garrett massages her with her pizza fingers.
This is where I started being like, what is going on here? Because clearly this is kind of where this episode wanted to get to. You know, late night cram session, pizza party, like Mrs. Garrett coming in, reminiscing about when she was in school and being like another one of the gals. You know, I was surprised that they weren't all going to braid one another's hair.
Yeah, no, I mean, they will have a pillow fight soon.
Yeah.
Yes, this was the second time I thought Joe's interest was piqued when Mrs. Garrett started massaging Blair. Like,
yeah.
Oh, we can do that?
I didn't know we were doing that.
Okay.
That's permitted. Okay.
Blair, get behind me.
Glad I greased up my hands with all this pizza grease so as to better be able to get into your into that beautiful little pajama set you've got on, Blair.
So Blair, so then Mrs. Garrett suggests this good old-fashioned pillow fight might be what's in order to blow off steam. Either that or a big finger bang circle.
So this is where I got kind of confused, right? Why? So that basically the point of that was to make Mrs. Garrett was basically making all of these very sort of like sweet, earnest, naive suggestions. Like, why don't you sleep? Here, have some brain food. Like, Bride, why don't you cram? Like, don't cram. You guys have been so good this semester. Like, this seems like not such a great idea. And then she comes in, she brings the pizza, and now she's part of like the group again. She's like one of the gals. And then she suggests something, being like, in my day, we used to blow off some steam. We used to have a pillow fight. And then Blair, for some reason, decides to take a shit on Mrs. Garrett's chest. And she's like, Mrs. Garrett, did you room with the Brady Bunch?
I don't know that was a shit. She might have been like, because my sister, now she's not my sister, but she's sort of my sister. She's a nun, so she's a sister to everyone. Eve Plum, do you know her? I thought we could have gone there.
But no, but I thought that it was like she was telling them to do something that would blow off some steam, that after Blair had read them this incredibly highly charged erotica, was not going to do it for them. And so Blair's like, no, we can't have a pillow fight, Mrs. Garrett. We need to hump our pillows together, okay?
And Joe's like, I got an idea, and it's under my pillows.
Yeah. But the thing is that I actually didn't really I don't really understand how pillow fights kind of became like a sort of shorthand for things that little girls do together.
I've had pillow fights with boys.
But how old were you when you did them?
It was me and Grant. We were probably 15.
Okay. But anyway, it's sort of
like, okay, but it was you two. So that's like 7 in girl years.
But it struck me as just this. It's like Mrs. Garrett is like coming and being like, hey, can I be part of your party? And then like Blair's like, get the fuck out, old lady. Like,
I guess a little bit. I mean, she did definitely like leave right after that happened. I don't think that she felt kicked out, but I could be wrong.
Well, she did. She suggested it. Blair shits on it. As though like, oh, Mrs. Garrett, like we're way more into like, XXX piss play pornography, Mrs. Garrett, or whatever. Get out of here. And then Mrs. Garrett leaves being like, oh, of course you girls are much too mature, like Mrs. Garrett is, to engage in something as silly as a pillow fight, all sibilant and annoying and condescending. But it's sort of like, as soon as she said it and left, what do?
Well, yes. In the time that it took Mrs. Garrett to tell them that she hopes their brains and pencils are sharp and then exit, Tootie picks up a pillow instantly, wallops Joe with it. And Joe says, be smart. But Tootie gives 0 fucks. She's like, I'm all about this. And then she smacks Blair, whose head is resting on the table.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, also, the fight choreography of this scene from Azad was not great.
You're crazy. It was like an action movie.
It's like Fast and the Furious 9.
So then Natalie says, if you hit me, I'm going to lay you out. And Tootie happily smacks the Brave Wing conductors right off Nat's head. We are into a pillow fight.
Yep.
All right. And now it's 5 a.m.
5 a.m.
So late.
It's so late.
It's exciting being up this late. I'm sorry. As a kid, I found this very exciting. I love this moment. This is Blair is still procrastinating. She's like, hey, Joe. Joe's like, what? How you doing? Fine. And then it's like, hey, Joe. I'm like, yeah. Do you want some coffee? No, I'm good. And then the third is like, hey, Joe, what? Fucking great. It was perfect.
As though there aren't 2 other sleeping people in the room you need to be cognizant of.
I mean, who the fuck cares? It's in the toots. So it turns out that Blair is scared about what's going to happen after high school. After a lifetime of not feeling comfortable in her surroundings, she actually likes it at Eastland. This has become her home.
Mm-hmm.
But Jo says she's going to love college. She's the girl in the brochure with the knee socks, smiling at the future with just a little bit of cum in her hair.
And I was going to say, but no panties.
No panties. Never panties.
And Blair's like, that's right. I am on the cover of the brochure. I forgot.
Blair has some
I did that photo shoot last year. Thanks for reminding me. I feel great now.
I'm better. Joe's scared too, apparently. There's an apartment full of old people just expecting her to succeed back in the Bronx. We hear for the millionth time that no one from where she's from goes into college. Expect more of that next week. I wrote in my notes. The closest that they've got is Susie Shoeful, which is an interesting name.
Yes.
More thought went into that name, much else. She got into the Rockettes.
Yes.
Congratulations, Susie Shoeful.
I didn't write that down, but I do remember the Rockette bit. Maybe the reason why her name is Shoeful is because Rockettes are associated with tap dancing. That's as far as I can go with that.
That's deep. So then Blair and Jo pump each other up. Blair thinks Jo will do great things at college. She's very adaptable. She got used to Blair, didn't she?
Yeah.
She was like, well.
Yeah.
And they laugh and my heart sings. I got Misty there. And that's when the Toots wakes up from their 15-minute nap in weirdly Blair and Jo's beds.
I don't know.
I don't know either. And also Nat decided to sleep in her cap.
Maybe it works better when
I don't think this cap should be slept in. This is why her lightning bolts are falling off.
Oh, okay. Jeez.
Don't sleep in that gorgeous piece of machinery. So Natalie had a nightmare that she was chased by tiny elements with tiny little feet.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of cute.
I guess. I mean, but I will say though that, I am familiar with school and exam related anxiety dreams and nightmares. So, and I still get them, even now. So I do feel like, even if they were the cutest little, periodic table elements with little feet, it might be terrifying if there were a lot of them chasing me.
I only have one anxiety dream. I have it all the time. Not all the time, but it's been recurring for a long time. Ever since I became a cat dad, I dream that I go to events and I am with my cat and I think, oh, it's so cute and cool and quirky. I'm with my cat. And then the cat gets loose. And then it becomes like me at this event chasing down my cat. Meanwhile, he's not going anywhere.
Hi, Greg.
He just likes to sit next to me wherever I am. But yeah, I feel like honestly, in real life, both my cats that I've had would be much more by my side and not run away and slip through the cracks of doors like constantly. But that's the dream that I regularly have. I had one last night.
Well, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I don't mind it. Because I rarely dream. When I do, it's usually an anxiety dream, and so it's kind of like, oh, I'm at a movie. It's like an exciting action movie.
My recurring nightmare is this podcast.
Oh, well. Sorry.
Just kidding.
Okay, I hope so, because the fans will feel like they're hurting you by enjoying the show.
Anyway.
So, Tootie is asked by Natalie to test her on the elements. I said that as weird as possible. Natalie asks Tootie to test her on the elements.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like, gold. Natalie literally was like, test me on gold, to be fair. And so she's like, okay, gold. And Natalie's like, AG. You did not need Tootie for this.
No.
But regardless, you will need Tootie for what happens next.
Yes.
We all need Tootie for what happens next.
Yeah.
Tootie reiterates, I'm telling you, Nat, word association is it.
Yeah, that's right. Listen, don't be embarrassed to have a mnemonic device to remember shit.
No, I think they're great.
Yeah.
Used them my whole life. So she tells her AU is gold. So imagine a mugger is trying to steal your gold watch And then you go, hey, you, give me back my gold watch.
Perfect. That should be tattooed on your neck. That's a perfect. But then you don't need to have that tattooed on your neck because you know what the element gold and what it stands.
You'll never forget.
I'll never forget.
It's tattooed on my heart. Anyway, Nat's not into it, even though it's way better than H.G. Wells' Mercury.
Oh Lord, yeah.
And now it's 8 a.m.
Oh my God.
It's time. It is time for the exams.
And okay, so we're still in the girls' room.
Yes.
8 a.m. Presumably, they've gotten all their scissoring and trimming and lips on lips out of the way.
I feel like everything from 6 p.m. to 8 was pooping, taking turns pooping.
I mean, I certainly hope so. I mean, I at this point, I hope that I feel like, Mrs. Garrett could have gone to the gymnasium and unlocked the locker room so that they could use that as a auxiliary toilet, because the way that they were eating in this, they would not be able to get through an exam.
I agree with you. I was thinking about that. The reason why we stop after this scene is because if we saw them at their lunch, which they were so excited to go to eat more, they would all be talking about yeah, I got 5 minutes into that exam, and then I was like, oh shit, I gotta pinch off a loaf right now.
Not even a loaf, like a
sourdough loaf,
a goddamn bakery. It was ridiculous. The amount of here's the thing. It's the moo juice, the banana cake, all those bananas. There was not that much roughage. All those sandwiches and a pizza, all those Oreos. I don't know. Unless you drank 2 gallons of black coffee, that you'd be bummed up for a month.
Well, they had access to coffee. We know that.
Yeah. Anyway.
Bunged up. So it's now 8 a.m. Natalie is bossing Tootie to help her get her shoe on, but it's Tootie's shoe. So now Natalie is bossing Tootie to take off her shoe.
Yeah, so everyone is dressing in their uniforms, and seemingly Natalie is so exhausted and stupid that she's putting on other people's clothing.
I mean, all of their clothing looks the same. They all have the same uniforms.
It doesn't matter if you and I had the exact same shoes. Your shoe size would look very different than mine.
That's because I'm a big burly man and you're a petite tiny girl. But if you look, those are two 14-year-old girls. Their shoes are likely within a size from each other. But apparently that size is enough for Natalie not to get hers on.
Yeah.
Anyway. Joe's practicing Spanish. Should she meet some drunk, clumsy Spaniards near a stairwell?
Yeah, so she's cramming her Spanish in, I guess, for her Spanish exam. And it's and I'm not going to be able to do it because I didn't write it down and I don't speak Spanish, but it's he fell down the stairs. She fell down the stairs. They fell down the stairs. And then she's like, what's with this family? They're so clumsy. And it's what's with this textbook? What are you learning? I don't think.
I think she said that these are the clumsiest Spaniards she'd ever heard.
Yeah. And now Blair's fretting. She's standing in front of the mirror because she has a giant stress zit the size of Monte Carlo.
Yes.
Which is invisible on camera.
Yes. The network was like, do not put a red dot anywhere near her face. She is perfect. Just say she has one.
Mm-hmm.
They all plan to meet in the cafeteria for lunch for more food after their morning finals.
I wrote down, what the fuck?
I wrote, I'm getting misty-eyed again. This might be the last time they get to do that. They'll never take tests and be around food together again. Oh, wait. Tootie tests Natalie on the elements once again. And this time she nails it. Hey, you! Just shout that in the middle of her test.
Yeah.
And then Natalie formally invites Tootie to her foxhole, and Joe's interest is once again piqued.
Yes. What is this foxhole you speak of?
Yes. May I come in?
Enter this foxhole?
Tell me more. Mrs. Garrett comes in with more things for them to put in their bodies. Orange juice now.
Yeah. 4 cups of orange juice. And they're like, oh my God, thank God, Mrs. Garrett, thank God, thank God, thank God. And then and she's like, well, also but there's a pre-exam breakfast downstairs ready for you in the cafeteria. And they're like, there's no time, Mrs. Garrett. There's no fucking time. What are you, crazy?
Even though we're so hungry right now.
It's 8 a.m. It's 8 a.m. You have plenty of time to eat more food and take a huge shit if you need to.
Yeah, so then she tells them that the food is to go. And they're like, yes! Yeah, they all high five and celebrate. We get to eat while we're going from one place to another now.
This was so and that's the thing, is that you were like, I found this very heartwarming. I was thinking about that this is like the last time that these girls are going to do these things together, and that they're actually, Blair and Joe are like actually kind of communicating about how much they actually will miss one another and how much they admire one another. And the thing is that okay, but all I could think about was their lower colon.
Okay, there's something that I meant to bring up earlier. I thought about it, but it didn't come out.
It didn't come out.
Poor choice of words. One of my favorite things, I love the show Gilmore Girls. Love it. One of my favorite things about Gilmore Girls is how they continually eat unhealthy, irrational amounts of food at all times. It is wish fulfillment. And I think for me, there was a element of, it's not like I was worried about, oh no, I'm going to gain weight, whatever. But there's an element of like partying with your friends all night, and like what we're doing is important, but also we're in it together and we're having fun. We can't help but have fun. And all this food, we never stop eating. It all felt like a magical fantasy land that I appreciated and wanted to be at. So I think that maybe you and I together have uncovered that my love for this episode might be the irrational amount of food that they are offered throughout.
Well, I'm glad that we could do this work together for you to understand the appeal of this episode.
I appreciate it. I get 2 hours with you a week. I only get 1 hour with my therapist. So this works out way better. We actually get somewhere.
Which is 1 episode a week of the Facts of Life.
Yeah, and then we're basically done here. Mrs. Garrett tells the girls, let's be careful out there.
I didn't understand it. I was like, is this was this a joke?
I assumed that was something that they say, like cops say on a cop show that was maybe popular around that time. That's as far as I got.
I mean, that makes sense, but it's like, again, and the other thing is that she kind of does like a creep half wink, like sort of like Lucille Bluth, like who kind of can't do it, or like does it with the wrong eye, like the upstage one, where she's like, hey girls, let's get together, and then like blinks twice or with one, and it's like, what is going on? And then the girls are like, yeah, let's go get A+, and they leave. And then Mrs. Garrett's like, oh shit, this hat is actually pretty dope. And then puts on Natalie's fucking hat.
Okay, I actually have thoughts on that last second.
Okay.
But yes, it is goofy and funny, and I love it. But I think that what happened was Mrs. Garrett was like, oh no, one of Natalie's brainwave conductors is loose. Well, I'm just going to go take that to my sewing room and put it on her head to go do something nice for Natalie. Because this is a heartwarming episode.
Of toilet wrecking proportions.
Well, that's why they flushed hotly. The heart was warm, and the toilet was also
very coming in hot and leaving even hotter. But do we ever see this hat again?
No. You will see it as soon as I find one on eBay.
Okay. So that could also be something that might have been sort of subtly being, I don't know, introduced at the end there, is
That
that,
Mrs. Garrett was taking it and throwing it out.
well, taking it and being like, but because Natalie was basically using it sort of like a security blanket. Like she was like, I can't learn, I feel like my brain is scrambled unless I'm wearing my special hat. And then she left the hat behind to go ace all of her exams, because if she doesn't, then her dad's gonna die. So maybe she actually needs that fucking hat.
Yeah, well, that maybe, I guess 18 episodes is close to finals next year.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what happened. Maybe she did good enough this year, lost the hat. Next year, she kills her dad.
Yeah. And with that,
something to look forward to.
well, you know, I didn't mean to sound like Porky Pig, but maybe in the episode where Natalie takes her finals the next time, maybe someone will have this very special hat to wear on the podcast. Fingers crossed.
All right. Well, with that, I think we've juiced all the joy that we can out of this wonderful episode. Any last thoughts for you?
So next week is a two-parter?
Next week is a two-parter.
Okay, great. I will make sure to order a pizza, have 50 sandwiches delivered, a crate of bananas, banana cake, Oreos, and lots of moo juice.
You're going to get to the 10-minute mark, and then you're going to need to order some pizza. All right. Well, I'm so excited that we got to do this one, and I am really excited because after next week, we're going to take a little bit of a vacation.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we will be back with season 5, plenty of croissants. But yeah, one more episode before Dom and Grant go to Cancun.
Dom and Grant?
No, Dom and Britt. You misheard me. I said Dom and Britt. Look, I've had a writing partner for 20 years. When I say Dom and, it almost always comes out Grant, even when I don't want it to. Even if it's like, so I apologize. But no, you and I, me and you, going to Cancun. Grant can go fuck himself. With Steve. Him and Steve, fuck them. Me and you, Cancun. Coconut bras.
Ooh.
Bring all of our cats.
All the cats. And yeah, coconut bras, cats. I might leave my cats at home so that they don't escape, so that I don't have your nightmare.
I see. It's funny. I do bring my cats to hotels and on road trips and on airplanes. Just put them in my backpack. I do travel fast and loose with the cats.
I had to fly from New York to Los Angeles with my cats, and it was the most stressful experience of my entire life. And the funny thing is that everyone who was checking me in, like, because I had 2 cats, so I had to buy them their own seat, blah, blah, blah. I have 2, tigers, obviously. No, 2 tiny cats in 2 little bags. But they were like, oh my gosh, they're so sweet. They're so cute. Are they your emotional support animals? And I was like, no, they are killing me right now because they're Siamese. So they talk and scream constantly. So they were not supportive, and they took me to 11 emotionally. So
when I flew, this is both of us were moving our cats. When I flew to move to LA, I had an old-timey cat carrier that was way too big to put under the seat. So I was boarded and everything, and they actually removed me from the plane because my cat carrier was too big to go under the seat. And so I got off the plane, I threw out the cat carrier, I took a backpack out of my suitcase that was just empty and smushed in there, and I put the cat in the backpack, put the backpack on my back, and walked back onto the plane, and they were like, "That's fine." Actually, I don't know that they knew, but the point being is that I unzipped just like enough for my cat's head to get out of the bag, and then I stuck my hand in there so that I could like pet her and make her feel good, and then I fell asleep for 5 hours on that plane, and so did she.
Yeah, and you told me she purred the whole time.
Yeah. No,
She's like, this is great. I love this. I wish I could. She was like, can we go to can we go to Monte Carlo like this next year? That'll be great.
Crazy how well behaved she was, considering she had never been in a backpack before, and she was for 6 hours basically.
My cat had to go to the vet yesterday, and had to go in the car for 10 minutes in his bag. Yelled the whole time. The whole time. So
I love that we finished this whole podcast and then we're like, and now here's 10 minutes of cat talk, just in case you need it. Do we want to end with anything facts of lifey so that those people who stayed can be like, all right, at least I stayed for this?
How
about this? Why don't you sing the theme song as Mrs. Garrett?
Facts of life? Absolutely not.
All right. I think we've done enough.
That's that'll be a special gift at the end of the season for everyone.
The end of this season?
Yes.
You will sing the Facts of Life theme as Mrs. Garrett by the end of graduation.
I will.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, more excited than the hat I'm planning on making you.
No, nothing's gonna make me more excited than that hat. I'll wear it on all the podcasts.
Okay.
Until next time. Hasta la pasta. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.